How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another Monday edition of Blind Eye Live. It is Monday, July 18th? Sorry, 19th. Man, I'm getting my days, I'm behind. But yeah, Monday, July 19th, in the year of our Lord 2021. Welcome to Blind Eye Live. I am Hunter King, Blind Eye himself. And why is this so high angle? There we go. That's a little better. That's more comfortable. Anyway, hope y'all are having a fantastic Monday. Today's show, we're going to talk, obviously, Milwaukee Bucks take 3-2 series lead over the Suns, going back to Milwaukee, winning on the road. It's not a series until, the road team wins a game, and in this case, it could be series donezo. Phoenix going to have to dig deep and, win on the road to force a Game 7 at home. And even so, the Bucks have already proven they can win on the road. They've proven earlier in the postseason they can win a road Game 7. I really feel like the Bucks figured the Suns out. And the Bucks should have an advantage going back home. Because I had said, on the Friday show, the Suns should have the advantage going, playing at home. But in another, great game, Game 4 was an awesome game. Game 5 was even better. The Bucks were able to pull out the victory. Drew Holiday with just an incredible clutch steal at the end of the game. Antetokounmpo on the other end, just slamming it home, basically clinching the game. This Bucks team very much throughout the playoffs just kind of, really some Team of Destiny stuff, to be frank. Anyway, the Bucks have earned this, very much earned this, with their play this postseason. Now, obviously, they still have to win Game 6 or Game 7 to win the series. This series is not over. But I kind of think it is. I think this is a Game 6 win for the Bucks. Now, the Suns have had their own share of bounce back clutch performances. Chris Paul this postseason has, when the Suns have really needed it, come through. But they really needed Game 5, and the Bucks just had more, and Drew Holiday finally stepped up and really played like that third star. And, flipping the game with a defensive play or should I say clinching the game with a just incredible defensive play, which is kind of what they brought him in to do. I just think this is the Bucks series. Which sucks because Chris Paul finally gets to the finals. He's just not going to be able to pull it off. But Giannis Antetokounmpo, that's your 2018-19, 2019-20 back-to-back MVP. 2019-20 Defensive Player of the Year. This guy's a stud. This guy is he is the best player in the league. And we need to stop questioning it at this point. Giannis is the guy. And he should be the face of the league. But, he gave an interview, or he answered a question at media availability about, how he handles his ego. Like he's just so low ego. And I thought Giannis gave a great explanation. And this is in his second, or like actually maybe even like I think English might be his third language. This explanation was incredible, and I'm gonna try. I'm not gonna do the whole thing. I'm gonna really simplify it. But he talked about like ego is what I have done. This is what I did. I did this in the past. You can't live off ego because, yeah, yesterday I was amazing, but today I suck. Or tomorrow I can suck. And then he talked about the future. He says, what I will do. Talking up what he will do, that's pride. That's pride talking. I can't predict the future. He said, so I try to play in the moment. I live right now. That's humility. That's handling what you can control right now. You can't control the future, and the past happened already. And it has no bearing on this moment. What I do in this moment. Just because I had 42 yesterday doesn't mean I'm going to have 42 today. So he focuses on each play, each possession. Just making the best decision, doing the right thing. And and he says, that's what's gotten me to where I am, and it's working pretty well, so I'm going to stick to it. I thought that was incredible. And he didn't talk it up like he's the only one doing it. He didn't compare himself to anyone else. There was nothing. It was just, I'm not going to talk about what I did. I'm not going to talk about what I'm going to do. I'm going to do things in the moment. I am going to live right now. And as a Christian and someone who's studied the Bible, that's what Christians are called to do. I was sitting here, I'm like, man, I feel like you could build a sermon off of this teaching moment right here. And you see it in the way Giannis lives his life as well, and the way he interacts with people, the way he talks, like the way he carries himself. Like, he's not living off of past success. He's not living caught up in what he did. He's not running around talking about what he's going to do. Like, as much ego and, because I'm going to be honest, with as much ego and pride that you see going around, he's like the antithesis of, to me, he's like the anti-LeBron. He's like the anti-Russell Westbrook. And I love it. He doesn't act like he's better than reporters. He doesn't, he doesn't run around, worried about proving anything, like based off of his past, or he doesn't act like this need to to boast about what he's going to do. He just goes out and he just does it. And I get why all these Twitter people, like, are so upset, because that's all they care about. Because a lot of people, Clay Travis made this comparison between Giannis and LeBron, and like that this should be the face of the NBA. I'm like, if you want a product that's marketing the best mental philosophy, if you're wanting a product that's going to teach young people how to truly be successful, if you want a league that's marketing, great character traits, the face should be Giannis. And that's not to say, like, and I'm saying that more as a positive towards Giannis. Like, LeBron James, faithful husband, you know, dad who is there. Like, and is energetic and involved in his son's life. Like, people, like, that's something that people need to see too. But, like, every time, LeBron loses, there is some kind of excuse. There is a wrist brace. There is well, we haven't had the time to really come together as a team, or, oh, the injuries, oh, the shortened schedule, da 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 da. It's like, hand wave away the bubble for his championship. Like, there shouldn't be an asterisk there, but there should be an asterisk right now, because of COVID and shortened seasons. Like, it's just, I don't know. He whines a little too much. It's not like Michael Jordan, where Michael Jordan just went out and did it. Not that Michael Jordan didn't do his jaw, and I'm not saying Michael Jordan's a very good character thing either, because, oh my goodness, that guy has problems. And is just, I mean, borderline sociopath. But like, I feel like LeBron doesn't take criticism or accountability well. You don't see Giannis like loafing in transition defense. You don't see him complaining to the refs near as often. He's more focused on getting back on defense than worried about a call he didn't get. Although Giannis does get a lot of foul calls. So, but I don't know. I love Giannis. I love his attitude. And I think the NBA would be really wise to center their marketing around him rather than a king who's, compared to some other people, rarely worn the crown. I mean, how many championships does LeBron have? I think he has 4 now, which, I mean, is more than the vast majority of players historically. But, like, when you consider that Steph Curry has played less years and has, was it 3 titles? And he's nowhere near as heralded or hyped. Or at least he wasn't coming into the NBA. And, even when Steph Curry, was the best player on earth, or was the best player in the league, LeBron was is still actually the best player in the league. It's just, I don't know. There's a lot of people who just, for whatever reason, they anointed LeBron the king, and LeBron has to be the king. Otherwise, it, for whatever reason, just unjustifies all the hype people put into him, which I think is stupid. And there's another thing, like, and people could say, well, because, like, getting back to the whole ego thing, like, LeBron being King James, well, that's a nickname people gave him. Oh, really? Sure. There's a difference between people giving you a nickname and then you branding the nickname, having a party every year with Jay-Z that you call the Two Kings Party or Two Thrones or whatever. Like, LeBron buys into it. LeBron, like, that's ego. And I prefer guys who are lower ego. And there's a difference between, like, I mean, I like guys with a little personality. I like guys who in the moment, I don't mind guys, like, celebrating a little bit. Like Steph Curry. Steph Curry does some stuff that's, like, a little borderline, like, it's a little cocky, but he is really good. But you also don't hear him running around like, look at what I've done all the time. most of the stuff you see is like very in the moment. And it's not that you shouldn't like be able to acknowledge what you've done. But there's a difference between acknowledging what you've done and like feeling like you constantly have to remind everyone like who you are because of what you've done. We all know those people. And it's grating. Like LeBron James to me is a very grating personality. Giannis is refreshing. Giannis has a perspective that I wish I embodied more. Like that's something I want to emulate. That's something I try to do. I don't know. I love that. I think that's why Giannis is connected with, or has been such a like one of my favorite players for so long. His story's incredible. Like him getting this championship, and with all the questions, you know, the last few years, like, oh, they were so good in 2018, 19, 19, 20, like, but they're a great regular season team, but the playoffs happen, and they're just, you know, they're not really the best team. Da, 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 da. Giannis is, you know, amazing during the regular season, but he's not a playoff superstar. Like, I mean, he gets points, but you're not winning it. He can't win a championship. I can't wait till they win this championship, and he can slap that aside. Of course, that's not going to be enough. That's just one championship. Then it's like, yeah, but he doesn't have three. People. Mike Budenholzer. People have been crapping on Mike Budenholzer really since he got hired there. Like that first year they were so good. And then like, you know, now we're going into this year and it's like, really the Bucks need like, and there are a lot of Bucks fans like, oh, we could do so much better than Mike Budenholzer. No, you can't. People can say whatever they want. Mike Budenholzer's a great coach. Now, just because he doesn't make, or sometimes he's made made decisions that you disagreed with him because the outcome wasn't a win, you took that as meaning that he made the wrong decisions. Sometimes you can make the right decisions and still lose. Because unfortunately, just because you made all the right decisions doesn't mean someone else didn't either foresee those or that they just had a better hand to play. Like in poker, I can make all the right decisions. I can have a just awesome hand. I can have a stacked full house. But if someone has a straight flush, it doesn't matter. If I played the rest of the hand right, that guy had a straight flush. I'm done. This year, though, things have broken right for the Bucks. And they've made a lot of really good decisions, although people have criticized his decisions even during this run. Fair or not. Because some of them I kind of like, I have my questions about some of his decisions too. But they are a win away now from an NBA title. One win away. They started off down 2-0 and they have won 3 straight games. I think it's hard to argue that Budenholzer isn't a top-level coach. It's hard to say that Budenholzer is holding this team back from success. It's hard to say that Giannis is deficient at this point. Nor should this take away from what the Suns have done this year, if they lose. Because if the Suns bring this roster back, they should be a favorite to get back next year. Because Devin Booker's still improving. DeAndre Ayton's still improving. Michael Bridges and Cam Johnson still improving as players. Jalen Smith will be going into year 2. We'll see if it's like he was a guy that I thought his development might take a minute. But if his development works out, he's going to unlock even more for the Suns. The Suns can make more moves this offseason. They're still going to have Jay Crowder. I can't remember if they've extended Sarge, if Sarge is going to be a free agent or not. That'll be an interesting call. But for the most part, like, they've got everything locked in. But I'll say this. And I said it last week. There are so many people on Twitter that talk about the NBA or talk about sports, and all they care about is a few names. They don't actually care about the sport. They don't love basketball. They don't love football. But they love the narrative around great people or whatever. Or they love the narratives around certain people. It's kind of it's like all these people who just seem to flock to LeBron and Brady. Like, it's just like a lot of the people who back them, they don't actually love the sport. They just love the idea of these people who are great at things. It's like they're people who are just super casual. It's like that. It's like, Michael Jordan's the greatest. It's like, well, why? Well, I mean, it's like he never lost to the finals. Like, I remember in college, this was my freshman year of college, I was arguing with someone who was like saying that Michael Jordan made like 50% of his threes for his career. Because I was saying, like, at the time, I'm like, I actually think LeBron James might be a better all-around basketball player. Like, he's definitely a better shooter. It's like, no, Michael Jordan made like 50% of his career threes. I'm like, what are you stupid? And I didn't say stupid because it was one of my friends, but I'm like, no one has made like 50% of their threes for their career. And he's like, what? Like, Michael Jordan's like the best though. And I said, yeah, but he wasn't a good shooter until like later in his career, and he still wasn't that great. I want to say his like career 3-point percentage is like 32 something percent, maybe 34%. If like, I think I'm being generous if I'm saying 34. But I said, yeah, like there weren't a ton of like elite shooters. Like Larry Bird was a much better shooter than like Michael Jordan was. And like this dude's just dumbfounded at what I'm saying. And I mean, and that's not to say like, you're not allowed to talk about things, but it's so annoying when I see these people talk about like what's good and bad for the NBA. Like so much of this postseason has been all these injuries, oh this finals, oh these teams being the last four. Oh, this is so bad for the sport. Like the Suns beating the Clippers was bad for the sport. Milwaukee and Atlanta being the last two teams from the East, this was bad for the sport. I'm like, how? How is this bad? You mean that a rabid smaller fan base like Milwaukee is getting national attention, and they're getting like something that is going to create die-hard fans, like galvanize them. It's like, we finally won a champion. You know what? Everything is, because what's going to happen? Giannis brings that title home to Milwaukee, first title in 50 years. Those fans, like, Giannis is the guy forever, for generations. That fan base is going to be like fans who've been around for a long time. They're going to be happy. They're not going to need anything else. They are going, it's like even the low times, they're going to be like, they're going to remember. It's like, we saw greatness, and now it's time. Like, it's like we're going to be in this rebuilding period, but we're going to build these players. Because, like, the modern sports fan is a little smarter, But like you get these small market fans, they're diehards for their teams. I'm sorry that the casual fan that only pays attention like to certain like organizations or player names is, you know, maybe they should be exposed to some of these other people or some of these other places. Oh, I'm sorry Milwaukee's not as exciting as Los Angeles or New York or even Miami. I don't care. It doesn't, like, those places don't, the city doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. If you love basketball, this should be fun. This should be great. Seeing new people step up and take over. This is fun. This is what's fun. Because if you're not enjoying this, I would say you don't love basketball. You're not in it for the basketball. You're not in it for the sport. You're in it for some weird narrative that you decided to care about for some reason. Because I've heard people, it's like, LeBron's not involved? I don't care. Why do you care? And then it's like, why do you care about LeBron? Because he's LeBron. Yeah, but like, why do you care about LeBron? Well, LeBron's like the best. So like, if the best isn't there, is it like I literally had someone say, I mean, if the best guy's not in the championship, like, is it really a championship? Like, if his team was so busted, like, what happened there? Why was his team like? Why didn't his team play up to his level? I literally had someone say that. I'm like, because they were injured. Also, like, LeBron's not necessarily the best anymore. And in a given year, like, I mean, there's a reason he's only won so many MVPs. We decided, like, a lot of people decided someone else was better that year. I don't know. I get so tired of it. Like, let's be positive about this stuff. Like, let's enjoy the fact that, Devin Booker is stepping up. Like, Chris Paul finally made it to the finals. Like, the Bucks are finally back. Like, they haven't been this good since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said, screw Milwaukee, I want to go to L.A. I mean, literally, that's what happened. Kareem was like, I don't want to live in Milwaukee. I want to be somewhere more culturally relevant. And basically, pushed them to trade him. And that team has never been back to the finals. And it's funny because you get this, guy in Giannis who comes up and decides, even in the face, like in an era where all these guys are choosing to play together, all these guys are choosing to try and push to like certain markets or whatever. And Giannis like, Milwaukee's been good to me. I'm gonna do this for them. I'm gonna stick it out, da 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 da. And it's about to pay off for him. And good for him. I don't know. And maybe this is coming from a guy who's a fan of a small market team here. Like, I'm a Memphis fan. And I remember when, like, Paul abandoned us. But, Mark didn't. We ended up shipping Mark out. Although we ended up helping him win a championship. Like we kind of did with Powell. But, Mark didn't really want to go. But, Hopefully now maybe we've got our core, maybe we got our guys. But like I'm gonna ride with John Morant and the gang, whether we win a title or not, because that's what real fandom is, you know. I mean, I'm okay with people being fans of players and like, in different times. Like, I rooted for the Warriors dynasty. Like, I like I loved Steph Curry in college. I mean, if they play my Grizzlies, I was rooting for my Grizzlies. Otherwise, like I was rooting for the Warriors. That's okay. Like I think that's fine. You know, and maybe you don't have like a favorite team. Maybe you are more player centric. That's fine too. But like if you love basketball, you're probably deeper than, well, LeBron's not in the finals, so why do I care? It's so dumb. Anyway, I think that's enough on the NBA Finals stuff for now, I guess. Wow, that went about half an hour. That's nice. Um, so I wanted to talk about some of this name and image likeness stuff too. This is going to be light on, probably light on articles today. I'll probably get into some headlines towards the end of the show, but I wanted to get into the name and image likeness stuff, or NIL rights stuff, because I find it interesting, and I'm annoyed that apparently one of my favorite shows that I watch is Late Kick. I've been having to catch up because I got behind because of you know, well, while I was not streaming, I was also not able to watch a whole lot of stuff. So catching up on that, and I'm kind of annoyed at like people who aren't as interested in the name and image likeness stuff. Not that you have to be, but I'm kind of shocked because I find this stuff's very interesting and is gonna have a big deal in shaping the sport for the future. So like, not that I care. Like, I'm glad like these guys are able to sign some kind of dumb little sponsorship thing. Like what I talked about with the Miami Hurricanes. You had like this gym owner who's like, hey, if you're a Miami Hurricanes football player, I'll give you $500 a month, for shouting out the gym, or I guess like being sponsored, and I guess signing some kind of contract with the gym, whatever. That's cool. They should be allowed to do that. They're adults. And it has nothing to do with them playing, like, their ability to play college football has nothing to do with the school. Like, nothing to do with taxpayer money, nothing. But something funny really happened this weekend. So 2 Texas A&M football players, a safety, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and star running back Isaiah Spiller, one of the best running backs in the nation, maybe the best running back eligible for this next year's draft, at least as I'm looking, or as I have people rated right now. He's my number 1. They have signed exclusive interview rights deals with Texags.com, which is a Texas A&M fan site. I don't know the exact terms of the agreement, but it's stated as like exclusive, it's like an exclusive rights type contract. Now, they probably have some kind of media availability that the school, or that they're still bound to with the school, but what I'm guessing is there's certain access that they're paying for or whatever. And it was funny because ESPN did an article on this, or released an article on this. And at the bottom, after, this report, they said, this is unusual because players typically, are made available through the team's sports information department. Da 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 da. And there was something else about it. And it just read to me as in like ESPN is maybe a little miffed at the fact that some fan site, one of their sponsors or one of their partner like businesses is paying these players for exclusive content that I imagine that business's ads are going to be plastered on, or those interviews are going to be presented by, or whatever, which I think is hilarious. Because here's another thing, personally, which, like, with the NFL and NBA, like, the players agree to, like, media availability, whatever, which is fine. Like, I think it's fine, like, for the professional leagues or whatever. I think, to a degree, though, it is funny, or I think interesting, and something that, you know, there's a difference between media availability, though, and, like, certain information. I think players saying, like, hey, we're going to give you exclusive, like, information. We're going to give you an exclusive insights that we're not going to give. Like, we're going to answer questions that we wouldn't answer for other people for money. I think that's great. Selling information or selling access to people. That's what people do on this platform of YouTube. And Twitch or whatever. Or not always through the platform, but like Patreon. There's a lot of people or a lot of creators on this site that use Patreon or other avenues to monetize their content, where you can go directly to them and get stuff you can't get maybe on YouTube. Like, I subscribe to some people on Patreon to get access to different, or to stuff like Discord servers for the community, which is great. Because, one, that means that you don't have a bunch of people in there that aren't really invested in your content, and people just jumping in there just to create a bunch of havoc and maybe destroy the community or get you kicked off of something. These are people who are invested in what you're doing and want it to continue, and don't want to, jeopardize your livelihood if it's what you do for a living, or jeopardize this community and this content that they love and enjoy so much. They're invested. Like, giving extra access. Everyone else can do it. Why can't these college athletes do it? That's been the big thing. And now they don't have to. Now they get to. Now there is no question of why they don't get it, because they're getting it. Your likeness should not be tied up just because you happen to have just because some college decided it wanted to give you a scholarship to play football for them. Like, that shouldn't take your name away. Just like at the pro level. Just because some team drafted you doesn't mean that they get to decide what you do and don't do with your name. Just because you're working for a company doesn't mean that, in your spare time, you don't get... It's like, now, there might be restrictions and stuff that, like, would actually interfere with your work, or, like, if you're working for such and such tech company, you shouldn't be able to use their facilities to develop stuff you sell on the side or sell to other people. Like, I get that. That's different. Or, because I've heard that argument, I'm like, that's different. This is... I'm not sitting here playing football for you, but on the side, I'm going over and also playing for, another team you're competing with on another day of the week. That's not what's going on here. I'm not doing something that's depriving you of financial benefit while using your stuff. Like, my name and the work I do shouldn't have, like, it's just weird. Like, because I get the argument for a lot of these people who are upset, like my dad. My dad thinks this is the worst thing that's ever happened and is going to ruin everything. It's like, the colleges aren't paying players, and they never should. They are getting, from the schools thing, they are getting a taxpayer-funded scholarship to a university that normal people would kill to have that scholarship. But that football program makes a lot of money, and it's funding pretty much the rest of the athletic department for that school with the profits it generates. Now, I don't think the players should be getting paid out of taxpayer funds. I don't think players should be getting paid by the colleges. But them being able to sign endorsement deals, sponsorships, other kind of stuff, sell or do merchandising stuff, that shouldn't be blocked. That shouldn't be blocked. Because this is a business. It was one thing like when, everything was going through the schools, but there are so many companies and corporations profiting off of these guys' blood, sweat, and tears. Their broken bones. Their torn ligaments. And for a lot of these guys, their dream is to keep playing football professionally. A lot of these guys, they're not the best students. Like, for what they're trying to do, this is the only way to really flip the script for them for their life. Otherwise, like, they can't do for the people they care about what they want to the way they can if they're, making that professional football money. Because for a lot of guys, if it wasn't for the fact that they could make life-changing money at the professional level, they're probably doing other stuff rather than playing sports to put food on the table or help their single mother out. I mean, that's just the truth. That's just the truth of it. So, and since unlike in other sports, because now this affects more than just college football. This affects all college sports in general. Like every college athlete now. But in baseball, you have the ability to go straight out of high school. Hockey, you have the ability to, you don't have to go to college to go or to get into the NHL system, which the NHL, Major League Baseball, had development leagues. The NBA is creating ways to where players don't have to go to college anymore, even though they haven't just straight up taken high school guys, because they actually want to create a system where you're doing something other than just getting drafted straight in the NBA out of high school. But the thing is, the NFL's not wanting to invest in any kind of infrastructure like that. They like the way the college system works already. For the college football players, they're locked in. They have to wait till 3 years after they graduate college or graduate high school. And part of that is physical development. The NFL is a brutal game. And they want, and especially for certain positions, you are not done developing at 18, 19 years old, physically. So, I get it. But I think these players deserve to have the rights of every other college student, in that if I'm going to a university, I could be a musician. I can go and I could sell my music on the side and do whatever. From what I understand, that could cause problems, I think, at the NCAA level. Like, you making money doing just about anything can affect, your status at the NCAA level. Just ask Rhett Bomar. Getting a job that came with a company car apparently was an impermissible benefit. Even though it had nothing to do with the University of Oklahoma, you could say whether or not it had to do with him being a quarterback or a quarterback for the Oklahoma Sooners. But I think it was bullcrap what happened to him. I don't know. I think this is great. Now, will there be consequences? Sure. But they're acceptable to me. We'll hit those when we get there. But there's just too much money in this that certain people who are putting in all the risk aren't in on the take. I think that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. College football makes probably as much money as the NFL. There is so much money in it. There is so much invested in it. And you mean tell me it's okay for certain people who do nothing, like in terms of the sport? They do nothing to benefit the players. They do nothing, whatever. They get to make millions. These NCAA executives get to make millions off of the work of other people. Get out of here. Get out of here if you think that's okay, but it's not okay for the players to get anything other than a college scholarship. And you could tell me the value of that all you want. I know what a college degree is worth, but I also know that its worth is overinflated because people will look at a college degree over someone's actual work ethic and body of work and ability to do the job and want to do the job. I don't know. But I just think it's funny that ESPN's over here upset because a couple college athletes have decided to sell exclusive access to people who are not ESPN. And I hope The Athletic gets in on this to some degree too, now that this is potentially a thing. I just want to see what kind of crazy deals we get out of this stuff, because this is different than with like the professional athletes, because they're like professional athletes are making good money. They're probably going to think a little more about this and that. Like, I'm just sitting here waiting to see how many guys are going to get sponsored by Milo's Sweet Tea in the Southeast. I'm looking at I'm wanting to see like which like what local businesses in some of these college towns do like really cool little promotions or sponsorships. Like, I just want to see what happens, to be honest. Plus, I think this is good for those communities too, because these community or like you get these businesses that are going to support these athletes, and then you're gonna have these athletes supporting these businesses, and I think it creates more community inroads, because this also has the opportunity to do like to even incentivize more community outreach, more community involvement from the players too. I think this opens up, because before you couldn't really do stuff between athletes and businesses. You know what I mean? Like, because impermissible benefits, other weird NCAA rules. Now you get these players that can just individually, it's like, hey, we're going to do this maybe, and as a group do this with this like business. I think there's a bunch of stuff like really positive like social benefits to this that we're going to get that people aren't even thinking about right now. So I think that's really cool. I don't know how much, or I don't exactly know how interested everyone is in this stuff, but I think it's fascinating what we're going to see from this. So I'm glad that college athletes, and I will say this again, I am glad, and it is a good thing that college athletes have ownership and the ability to use their name, their likeness, their work for their own benefit. Just like the rest of us. If you like freedom and you say you like freedom, and I'm talking right now to any older listeners and watchers who, or not even just older, but anyone who thinks that this is a negative and it's ruining the sport, I really don't know what to say, because if you like freedom and you like the American way, this is the American way. This is freedom. To me, you're telling me that you prefer, or that you think that socialism for rich people is good, because that's what the NCAA is. At the end of the day, this is what locking these players out of the revenue. Because I'm sorry, scholarships aren't revenue. Scholarships are given an arbitrary monetary value by universities, and inflated values at that by universities. There is billions of dollars flying around college sports, and the athletes barely see the benefit of it. And heck, depending on what program they're in, depending on the sport, I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff that's been coming out the last few years about some of these athletic programs and the way they treat their athletes, or the things that some of these athletic departments are doing behind closed doors. I'm like, these guys get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars to be abusive pieces of crap to your kids or other people's kids, whatever. They get to, or they go around behind closed doors, and the school will cover up the fact that they're sleeping with students when they're state employees, and that's a crime for good reason. You'd be amazed, if you've heard some of the scandals, and I've heard some stories around big college football programs for people who worked in them or were around them. And I know these people are telling the truth. I know they're telling the truth, and they have the proof. And they've given it, and the NCAA has papered over it, or they've had people dismissed and moved on behind the scenes. Coaches going and getting co-eds to sleep with recruits at campus visits. Or basically providing stuff for parties, alcohol, or at least the money to procure the alcohol and other things for college parties, for recruits, and just for football players or other sports athletes in general, although most of the stuff I'm talking about is in football programs. This is real, people. I'm not giving out any of this information or any specifics here. I may have talked about some stuff in the past, but I haven't really brought up specific names because, one, I want to protect sources. Two, some people have done, or they've made agreements, or they've been out of the industry, they're back in, or just other stuff has happened. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get strikes on my channel. I don't want some random lawsuit to come flying through and someone who has money attack me when I have none and I don't have the ability to hire a lawyer. Even though that what I'm saying is true, I'm not naming names because I'm not getting anybody coming after me. Anyway, the reason I say that is there's all this stuff going on. All these people get to make money off of the college athletes. But the college athletes don't get to have any of it. Heck, if the wrong person buys them a hamburger, game over, man. I mean, it's stupid. A coach believes he's going through the right things. He's doing a cookout, and then he realizes, oh wait, something I did might be a violation. I'm just not gonna, or I'm gonna lie about it or whatever, because something as stupid is just buying hamburgers and cooking hamburgers in your backyard for some potential recruits. That's somehow a recruiting violation. Cooking hamburgers is a recruiting violation. Like, I don't know. Like, this is just something stupid to me. So, like, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. But it grinds my gears. This is the stuff we're not allowed to do. Kid couldn't make money. Like this was a thing that was going on. There were athletes who had YouTube channels. There was a kicker, I think, for USF. He was doing, like, YouTube. And they basically told him it's like you can either... And he had a really good following. He was actually starting to make some money off of it. But they said, well, at first they said, you can continue the YouTube channel, but you have to stop doing... Like, you can't do anything involving, like, your football activities. And he did. And then they told him you were ineligible unless you just got rid of the YouTube channel altogether. So he did the first thing they said. Oh, that's not good enough. That's not... It's like, you know what? No, we're still not cool. Like, they moved the goalposts. What is so wrong with a dude getting, like, hundreds of thousands of views on his videos, making a little money on YouTube? How is that hurting anyone? How is that a competitive, like, advantage or for someone and a disadvantage for someone else? Like, it's stupid. It's really stupid. And now that's gone. Well, I don't know. That still might be something that this name, image, likeness thing doesn't cover, but I hope it does. Because you should be able to have a YouTube channel doing whatever the heck you want and make money off of it, if you so choose. Doesn't matter whether you're a scholarship athlete, scholarship student, regular person, or a student paying money to the university. Doesn't matter. You should be able to make money off your name and your work. Period. I don't know. I'm going to stop repeating myself. It frustrates me. And I reiterate, if you disagree, like, I'm saying this right now, because this is my opinion, but to be honest, I want anyone who disagrees with me to think about this. And actually think about it. Don't just dismiss it. Don't be... I know what I'm talking about. I've walked the earth so long. I've done this. I know. Think for a minute. Open your mind. Stop being lazy and think for a minute. Think for a minute. If you believe in freedom, if you believe that you deserve to be compensated for your work, if you believe that you shouldn't be locked into, that your entire life shouldn't be subservient to your employer, like 24 hours a day, that you get to have a life outside of your job, that you get to have a life, if you believe in freedom, this should be fine to you. If you believe that you should be able to go work your 40, 50-hour, 60-hour a week job, and then on the side, go out and do something else, or even something kind of similar. If you are a master mechanic, if you work for some business, but you go over on the side, and someone, like maybe you work more in ag mechanics, but you also know a little bit about cars and stuff too. If you go on the side and you help someone out with like rebuilding an engine on their car, and they pay you for it, and someone else comes to you and you start doing that on the side, not on work time, that shouldn't interfere with your job. That shouldn't be your employer, like at your job, shouldn't be able to interfere with that. If you believe that, and any freedom-loving American should, this shouldn't be a problem to you. This shouldn't be a negative. This should be a total positive. Otherwise, you don't really believe in freedom. You believe in something, but it's not freedom. So think about it for a minute. Ran over. We're now like an hour into the show. I'm going to say let's hit some headlines and then let's get out of here. Let me... I think it's that one. Yep. Boom. Let's see. What do we got on ESPN's main page here? They got the NFL Future Power Rankings, which I think is kind of like a 3-year projection thing. See what the top headlines on the main page are. Let me reorient my camera and everything. What I need to do eventually is just get like a multi-monitor setup. But that's a little expensive. I need viewers before I start investing in all that. See. Saquon Barkley on camp. Week 1 readiness. We'll see. He's still recovering from a severe knee injury, I think it was. Michael Irvin upset Cowboys miss vaccine threshold. Who cares what Michael Irvin thinks about the vaccine stuff? Once again, it's just this thing I have about individual freedom. We need to get out of each other's businesses on that. Mother of Washington football team owner does. Wow, they won't even say like Dan Snyder's name. Oh. Arlette Snyder, mother of Washington football team owner Dan Snyder, dies. I mean, they do in this article, but this short form, it's like, man, you won't name either of them. That's cold. Report. Biden to host Super Bowl champ Bucks. Okay. Hope you don't mind. Irsay. Oh, yeah. Jim Irsay bought Sir Elton John's piano for like $915,000. A piano. Jeez. Imagine having that kind of money. I could just drop, $1 million on a piano. Oh, this is the NFL homepage. Okay. see. Let's see what the front page of ESPN looks like. 25 U.S. athletes to watch at the Olympics. Pretty sure that's Kevin Durant on the left. Guess there aren't any. I love like athletes to watch, and I'm just sitting here like, how about like I don't think I know these other three because that doesn't look like Simone Biles to me, but maybe that is. Which women's soccer players? Like, there are not any male athletes that matter? Okay, ESPN, cool. COVID forfeits on table for SEC as Vax totals lag. Yeah. I mean this is gonna get stupid. Predators prospect Pro Cop announces he is gay. Who cares? Lynch, Kemp, Bird among stars at Kraken draft. Oh, I guess Sue Bird, Sean Kemp, Marshawn Lynch. Cool, I guess. Peyton Elon to headline alternate Monday Night Football broadcast. Okay, now that's interesting. Why wasn't that on the NFL headlines? Sources, NHL to break for Winter Olympics. Thank goodness the NHL has decided to go back to the old days when they took a break for the Winter Olympics. Instead of making guys choose. Man. NHL finally making proactive decisions again. Peyton Manning, Eli Manning to headline alternate Monday Night Football broadcast. So this is cool. Former NFL quarterbacks Peyton, Eli Manning, alternate Monday Night Football broadcast over the next 3 seasons. The Monday Night Football megacast will air on ESPN2 for 10 games in each of the next 3 seasons and will include current and former NFL players and celebrities joining the Manning brothers on the broadcast. A host for the broadcast has not been named. Why would they need a host? Just let the Mannings do it. This partnership with ESPN and the Walt Disney Company reflects an ongoing shared commitment to offering fans fun, innovative content, Peyton Manning said in a statement. Peyton Manning didn't say that. His PR person did. I hate PR announcements. ESPN Plus has been a terrific partner for Omaha Productions, which is Manning's production company, as we built out the Places franchise, and which I guess that's Peyton's Place, and I guess maybe they had some other one. We're excited to co-create the new megacast format that will have something for everyone. Steve Levy, Brian Greasy, Louis Riddick, Lisa Salters, and John Perry, who will remain on the traditional Monday Night Football broadcast for the second straight season 2021. Brian Greasy sucks. I like Steve Levy. I like Louis Riddick. Lisa Salters is fine, though I miss Susie Colbert. And I can't remember who John Perry is. The Mannings each won 2 Super Bowls during their careers. Peyton Manning, who retired in 2016, is set for induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame later this week. Eli Manning retired in 2019 after 16 seasons um, with the New York Giants, and also should be a Hall of Famer. Jimmy Pitaro, chairman of ESPN, and complete idiot. Who cares what he said? That's gonna be cool to see what comes out of that, because the Mannings are super entertaining. Let's see what this stupidness is. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey says COVID-19 concerns won't lead to rescheduled football games. Okay. Well, that's good. That's different than the headline, though, because the headline said something else. SEC Media Days kicked off on Monday with Commissioner Greg Sankey announcing that 6 of the conference's 14 football teams have reached an 80% mark for vaccinations. Awesome. That number needs to grow and grow rapidly. No, nothing needs to do anything. Man, our world is becoming so authoritarian. It is terrifying. Sankey said, "We have learned how to manage through a COVID environment, but we do not yet have control of a COVID environment." Have control. No. And I don't know why they care about the vaccine, because people I know who are vaccinated have gotten COVID since that. Since being vaccinated. So I don't understand why the vaccine's so important at this point if it doesn't do anything. One thing the conference can control is what it will do if a team is unable to play because of coronavirus issues. Sankey said games won't be postponed and has recommended that the conference recommended that the conference removes the 53-man roster minimum that was put in place last year. The message to schools is you're expected to play as scheduled. Good. That means your team needs to be healthy to compete, and if not, that game won't be rescheduled, he said, and thus, to dispose of the game, the forfeit word comes up at this point. Well, that's logical. Florida coach Dan Mullen, who spoke to reporters shortly after Sankey, declined to say what percentage of his team has been vaccinated, nor should he, but noted that it was a pretty high number, and we're getting close to the threshold. The Gators had 2 October games postponed, but played both later in the season. Here's the other thing. I don't know why they want people getting vaccinated so aggressively now. From what I understand, the vaccine only has a 90-day window or whatever. Or some people have told me it's like 90 days. So if it only matters for 3 months, shouldn't you want the guys to wait till closer to the season starting? So they're not having to get vaccinated in the middle of the season and potentially knocked out or weakened during the season, like I've heard people when they get the shot talking about, or shots. Oh, this is just wild to me. The Gators had 2 October games. Okay, yeah, I read that. For a program to avoid regular COVID-19 testing and the requirement of wearing masks indoors, it must achieve an 85% vaccination threshold. This is so bullcrap. In his opening statement, Sankey strongly encouraged fans, coaches, and players and staff to get vaccinated, saying they are widely available and highly effective. Because Sankey's a medical expert. And when people are fully vaccinated, we all have the ability to avoid serious health risks. No, we don't. People getting the vaccine are still getting COVID. Not to mention, avoid serious health risks. There are serious health risks other than COVID. Reduce the virus spread. Oh, sorry. I cut off mid thing. We all have once people are fully vaccinated, we all have the ability to avoid serious health risks, reduce the virus spread, and maximize our chances of returning to a normal college football experience and to normal life. I'm sorry, but most of us out here in like free states, we've already returned to normal life. I don't know anyone who's walked or who's been around Beaumont, Texas. I go to HEB. Most of us aren't wearing masks. We're living life like normal people. We go to restaurants. We're not wearing masks. We eat like normal people. Everything is fine. Are like these corporate people just that scared of like any kind of backlash from like the media that most of us don't even pay attention to anymore? Or are they just ignorant to the real world because they live in like some kind of rich person bubble? Like, normal people out here, we just live in. Like, oh my God. With 6 weeks to go before kickoff, now is the time to seek that full vaccination. It's like a cult. It is a cult. This isn't like the polio vaccine. This isn't like the meningitis vaccine. Sankey said the league must remain vigilant against the virus, pointing out how a number of Olympians have been removed from competition and how last week's Yankees-Red Sox game was postponed because of positive COVID-19 tests. Uh-huh. And the vaccine isn't stopping positive tests. And even when vaccinated, people are having to sit out. Chris Paul missed time during the playoffs despite being vaccinated because of COVID-19 protocols. The vaccine's not going to stop this. It's like we live with multiple parallel truths at the same time. They're acting like the vaccine's stopping or is going to stop this, but it's not. And they're talking about it. Like, I'm so confused at this point. There is so much conflicting and contradicting data. Ugh. I'm done. I'm done with that. Please, let there be some kind of happy headline to end on. Let's go to the NBA. Oh yeah, the U.S. men's basketball team has won their last two exhibition games, which is good. Especially beating Spain. Nuggets Will Barton has declined his player option. Find it interesting. I think I talked about it on Friday or Thursday. Wes Unseld Jr. is the Wizards' new head coach. He joins. Well, his father, Wes Unseld, was a star player, I believe, for the then Baltimore Bullets, I think it was back in the day. And then he coached the Washington Bullets. Unseld Jr. now coach there. He joins. He and his father now join the late Flip Saunders and his son Ryan Saunders as the only two duos or two father-son duos to coach the same franchise as head coaches. I think that's cool. But I guess other than that, there's nothing really. Interesting Kirk Goldsberry thing here. Don't expect Giannis Antetokounmpo. Oh my gosh. Don't expect Giannis Antetokounmpo's finals success to be a one-year blip. I guess he's talking about. Let's see. Yeah, basically what he's talking about is Giannis's prolific ability to score inside tends to be like, a marker of people getting to the finals. Because, I mean, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, LeBron James, Giannis, Shaq, Bill Russell, like Michael Jordan was an elite scorer in the restricted area. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 2021 Finals, first 5 games, 32.2 points per game, making 61.2% of his shots. 52 of 60 made shots have been in the paint. Yeah, I mean, you see all these like misses from behind the 3-point line. See some hits, but decent amount of or a lot of misses from like the mid range. But then right around the basket, it's like mostly makes. Through 5 games in the 2021 NBA Finals, Antetokounmpo is okay. Yeah, I read that. 32.2 points, 28 of which come in the paint or at the line, while shooting 61.2% from the field. Nobody has combined volume and efficiency like this in a finals since Shaq absolutely dieseled his way through the Indiana Pacers in 2000. Let's see here. Paint scoring. So this is a graph, I guess, of paint field goal percentage and total paint points or paint shots attempted. Ooh. This is an interesting graph. Zion's efficiency. He needs to take more shots. Let's see here. Kind of an interesting efficiency chart. And Giannis is over here in a world by himself. Although, Rudy Gobert, this is over the last 3 seasons. Man, RJ Barrett's got to fix this. Like, you've got 1,000 attempts, but like your field goal percentage in the paint is sub 50%. That's a yikes. Same with Elfrid. Like, him and Elfrid Payton, that's bad. And Morant's got to get his paint finishing up as well, but he will. He's still growing into his body. Because you look at De'Aaron Fox up here, over 55% now. And Morant only has like 2 years in the league during that stretch. Same with RJ Barrett. You got like Trey and Donovan Mitchell. Don't like that number for Donovan Mitchell either. And actually, it's kind of crazy, like as many as Drummond attempts. Like Andre Drummond, who is a big, athletic, strong big man, isn't even at 55%, or is just like just at or just under. And for as dominant of a scorer as Harden is, he's not very efficient unless he's getting fouled when he's getting that far inside. Like, I'm not seeing Steph Curry anywhere on this list, so it's interesting he's not being highlighted like some of these other guys. Because I'd be curious to see where he fell in that metric, unless he hasn't shot 1,000 shots in the paint over the last 3 years. So I find that weird. It's also interesting that Devin Booker has shot more shots in the paint than Embiid and is pretty much as efficient in the paint as Embiid, even though Embiid's supposed to be like this elite, post threat. Just find it funny. You look at Capella. Capella had more attempts in the paint than Embiid as well, and is way more efficient. Montrezl Harrell too. And actually, it's interesting to see, like, over the last 3 years, no one has shot more shots in the paint than Giannis, and then Drummond, Jokic, and Harrell. Now, some of that is, like, some of these other guys are a little more diversified in their scoring or don't get as many touches. But, I mean, you look at guys like Gobert and Capella who are very limited in the touches they get. Like, how many shots they're taking in the paint and how efficient they are at it. I'd say Rashawn Holmes over here could use a few more shots himself. As efficient as he is. But anyway, this is an interesting some interesting stuff to me at least. This is kind of getting into nerd territory though, so let's see, what time is it? We've been going for an hour and a half. I think that's a great show. I mean, you can tell me whether you think it's great, but I think it's a good link for the show. So, I appreciate you guys tuning in today. For those of you coming in on the, I guess later, like the archive, I appreciate you. Y'all are great too. Please, if you liked what I had to say today, like the show. If you want to talk about anything I said on the show or give me any feedback, please do that in the comments below. I read those. If you want more, subscribe. Heck, if you hate the show, let me know. But please give me some feedback. Appreciate y'all. Hope y'all have a great rest of your Monday, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 2 o'clock Central Time.